Yeah, there are a couple of questions that I have going in. I think the Senna, at least in second rotation, should get taken away. I think T1 are very happy to use the flexibility that it provides, as we do actually see a really big pivot here. This is looking to me like a B1 Orianna angle. Jarvan and Azir both taken away right from the get-go.
And LNG are on blue side, so it's obviously going to be a bit of a different game with that change-up. They are able to select that. So Orianna getting a banned out. Now the question is, where do you go from here with that Orianna ban? Maokai would make some sense, but you obviously, if you are playing on blue side, can't go for the Maokai Jace, which is kind of that priority pairing. So now I'm kind of interested if T1 would be concerned about it enough to try to take that Jace away, because that is one of those really top-level pairings that people hate to give.
Would also be a flex pick for T1. Zeus has actually still plays it top, even though it isn't that popular anymore. Definitely one of his comfort champions. And yeah, the Kai'Sa for me is the other big one, because I think that Gala, individually on the Kai'Sa, looked great. I don't think he was the problem in that game.
No.
I think it was more so the fact he was playing into a lane that relied on Hung hitting blitzcrank hooks, but didn't happen. And then come mid-game, like, what was he going to do with his team already being so far behind?
I think you're completely correct there. I think we didn't really get to see most of their composition work at all because they fell so far behind in the early to mid-game that even if Kai'Sa had been able to do something, it just wouldn't have been impactful with the gold and level discrepancy we saw. That said, Aatrox again locked in, confident to double down on the blind pick, and no reason you shouldn't be. Zeus was behind, put behind in the individual matchup, and still came out on top in the 1v1s.
And I think so much of that really came down to this fight around Herald that went so bad. You know, Zika was ahead prior to that. They had the gank, he got the first blood, he had a massive CS advantage, about 20 CS I believe it was at that time. But that fight goes so bad, it really brought Zeus back in it, and then of course Zeus got the solo kill from there, really took over. It is going to be the Jace, as expected, should be going towards Scout. And now we have to find out where they want to go from here. Do you pick a top laner now? Are you willing to go back towards that Gwen? Are you scared off of it after that first game? Renekton, definitely a stable pick, but it is going to be Gwen again. And I think it makes sense, right? Like, I don't think you can just completely doubt yourself or your picks after that first game, because it was so much down to execution and there was so many errors. You know, you talked about the small errors, but there was also massive ones as well.
Oh, as it is the Silas locked in. We've seen this picked a ton into the Maokai specifically. We'll be able to get an insane amount of counter value there. Also has been very high on the ban list against a lot of other LCK teams that have really highly prioritized the champion. My main issue with the Gwen, and I don't think this is player dependent, is that it does feel like a lot of the game deciding fights in the current meta happen before Gwen truly is like the 1v9 machine that we know she can be. I feel like her free item breakpoint is absolutely nuts. But a lot of games are decided before that, and I think that's where the Renekton, to me, even though it does make you very heavy on the AD, could have maybe provided more of a counterweight in mid-game.
Might have been able to. I think my attention is naturally drawn to the mid lane now because we've gotten so used to Orianna kind of Azir matchups, whereas instead now we have this Jace Sylas, a much more explosive, potentially much more volatile mid lane matchup. Scout said in his interview with Lore back in Swiss, like, hey, I don't feel like mid lane has a lot of agency right now to carry the game. Very different story in this kind of matchup.
I agree, and I think Faker, most people would not have expecting him to get the better of Scout in the 1v1. And in the first game, Faker absolutely did. This time, Scout is going to have the agency in the early levels on the Jace to try to push in, to try to punish this Sylas. And it is going to be the Varus, which I always think, you know, is nice in some of these early situations because it is really flexible. You can go AP, you can go on hit, you can go lethality. There's lots of different angles here. I do think they need some consistent DPS, so I am expecting it to be either AP or just purely on hit. But knowing Guma, would you say it's more likely to be AP?
I think, given how a lot of the LCK teams have been using it, it's probably lethality, especially with the amount of setup that's already available. And I think that also playing into LNG, there is a lot of threats there where you don't really get to be close up and actually deal damage. I think if it's like an Ornn or a more of a frontline pick in the top side, maybe, but would expect this to be the lethality specifically. There is also still the flex potential again here with the Rel. Varus Rel, very strong bot side with a ton of power. And there is the opportunity for Owner to go to swords, something like his lead. This is R5 counter pick opportunity though, and is it going to be the double marksman?
This is so funny because I was talking about that in Pick and Ban game number 1, how Carry was so flexible during this meta where he was one of those guys that you really could count on in this double marksman meta. We have not been seeing it in a long time. Do you think it's going to be the support Ashe or the support Varus? Because both
Ashe.
of those were somewhat valid at the time.
I mean, we'll see where they want to go. Again, they have till 20 seconds to decide what lane or who wants to pick what champion, but I feel like LNG have just been consistently on the back foot. Again, the second game they had the loss, they opted for blue side. T1, again, using this support counter pick to such great effectiveness, at least in terms of throwing off LNG plans. That said, still have to execute in game.
It's going to be so interesting because, you know, when we saw these kind of lanes back in the day, it was a lot of double Halo blades, you know, all about the early levels, all about the aggression, really utilizing that power to try to harass someone like the Rakan down before they can even look for those engages, before they can hold their jungler down. Because if you can keep them chipped out, if you can keep them pushed in, then it's very easy to track the jungler. And Tarzan's job also becomes a lot more difficult against the hawk shot that Keria is going to have. So it's not just going to be the wards he has to circumvent. He has to worry about these hawk shots and getting tracked from that, worry about potential invades coming in from Owner on the rel as well. So I do think there's going to be a lot of pressure already here on how Gala and Hong are going to be able to actually work this.
And this was specifically a type of pairings where T1 looked monstrously far ahead of everyone else during the spring meta, right? When it was all about, and we saw like Caitlyn support,
Yep.
the Varus,
support.
the Ashe, right? We basically saw everything. Yeah,
The worst time to play bot lane in the history of bot lane.
Not
The best.
fun.
Or the best, depending on if you enjoyed those supports.
Yeah, it was.
Or if your name was Keria.
Yeah.
It was every single game, right? Every single game you heal level 1 just to get prio of the wave, and
Yeah.
then from that point on, the game becomes very unfun to play for the opponents.
And it is going to be the double Halo blades I was talking about, so they're clearly going to be going all in for that early prio in that first couple levels here, trying to chunk down Hong, who's been spotted. And
2 slows already coming through. The stun going to connect. The abduct forcing out the W star coming in from the Hong. Now walking away. That's the heal you mentioned at level 1. A little sooner than we expected, Chronicler, but just trying to zone the Rakan away.
yeah, I think they thought they might be able to actually get all the way in to force out a summoner. Unfortunately, the heal does get kind of wasted there, so I think that removes a lot of the advantage they had from that initial attack. You can also see Gala, knowing how hard this lane is going to be, he's on Boots 4-pot. So this is about as defensive as a start as you can get, trying to have the sustain to survive and trying to have the ability to sidestep and avoid a lot of this damage.
The damage is still done though, because Hong had to start with his W level 1, right? Like one of the big advantages that I think Rakan has gotten, and why his laning phase that used to be one of his weak points has gotten way stronger than it used to be, is because if you hit your Gleaming Quail, you can tank so much of the damage, but now you're basically not going to be able to contest this early game at all. And Keria and Guma, that's right where they want to be.
So frustrating to play against this volley. Halo Blades now proc. Hong just has to back away. Eating 2 of those autos. A nice bit of gold over to the side of Keria. And remember that you can earn exclusive Worlds 2023 drops, linking your Riot account on lawlesports.com. Worlds emotes, icons. Get in there. Get your stuff just like Boris is getting in there right now because Halo Blades, baby! Oh, you can't win a trade against it. That's the fun part.
Big here as well is that T1 did place the ward down on Raptor, so they know that Tarzan is towards the top side of the map. So there's 2 options. Either T1 need to get the wave in before there is an opportunity to gank, set up some Triburst Vision, or have Owner path towards the bot side. It looks like that's not going to be the case though. They made the read, and Owner now can invade towards top side or look for a gank on Scout.
Well, they saw that he had no blue buff, so Owner's just going to invade on the blue because that ward over by Raptors saw him. They know that he didn't go up towards that blue, so it's going to be the blue taken away, and Owner could potentially even get the Gromp as well and really get far ahead. And that hawk shot, I do believe, actually spotted them. Yeah, you can see the pings over on Tarzan there. So that's the angle. When you get the push here, it's so easy to get that perfect angle on Ashe to be able to spot out all of these bot side camps and even some of the top side camps. And you can see the damage already being done. This is going to be the first waves crashing in at 3 minutes, and they're likely going to get a plate right now.
They're going to get a plate. Owner's very likely to reset and then be able to take his entire bottom side jungle while his bot lane has priority. So there will be no counter punch, no counter play for LNG, unless they can force something top. This is a clean early game from T1 thus far.
I also think there's a potential double scuttle angle. I think he can do the topside scuttle. He has so much prio on bot side, you can't really contest for that scuttle. So it could be invade, 2 camps taken away, and Scout maybe
Instead,
even...
the gank looking to force. Stun comes out on the Shattering Strike, just a bit of pork.
Yeah, that was necessary from Scout. If he does not early flash there, he's going to get Q flash, he's going to get flinged in, and I think he's dead.
Oh, they do spot Tarzan. We'll see if Owner wants to contest here. Zika does have early prio towards the top side, so this does deny the double scuttle. And that's a big win for LNG. Allows Tarzan to actually maintain some parity when it comes to farm.
And I think that's the cost of the attempted gank, right? Because he could have just stayed and taken that scuttle on spawn, but instead he does elect to actually go for this. And Tarzan now is hoping that, hey, are Raptors up? Can I actually invade for this? He goes and looks, but Raptors are not there. So there's nothing really for him to take. The scuttle's being taken on bot side by Owner, and now he can clear back into his bot side, take those 3 camps, can even look up towards the Krugs respawn, and you can see the T1 pings on their own Krugs because they're saying, hey, watch out, Zeus, because this is the one place that Tarzan could look for a gank right now. If he's up by my Krugs, he could be looking for a gank in behind.
Well, no gets spotted there with the sapling going over to the ward, so we see the pings. T1 again is aware. We've got to say though, Gala and Hung able to take the early beating decently well. There is still a lot of sustain available though for Guma. Double cookies as well as a refillable potion for the Varus.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Faker losing the sustain war. He hasn't recalled yet. Scout has, of course, already used his TP back to lane. Potential window here to try to capitalize on. Faker still has the flash available. The healing as well. Can he find a target? He's going to flash back under the tower. Shock blast there. Faker making it out to safety. Scout now looking to follow up the healing now coming in, trying to find the 1-for-1, but Scout will stand strong, getting the kill on a Faker in the mid lane.
That's huge for LNG, and a mistake from Faker. Steps back. He had evaded the gank. He had gotten away, but he wanted to greed out for it. Owner, though, does spot Scout.
Mounted up. The sapling going to slow him down enough that Scout can't escape. TP now coming in, though. Faker most likely just going to catch the wave here. Do they want to commit for anything else?
The delay actually means a lot because Scout had already committed his TP prior to that play, so now that there's that big delay, he's going to lose likely a full wave as Faker is going to be able to bounce and push this back in. And T1 know they have full prio for this dragon here, so they're going to be able to start this up. There's no way Jace can join.
Really important that the gank works out though there, because Tarzan was like level 3 when that started off. And if that play doesn't end up working out, they fall behind very much now. Able to get Scout ahead early as we see the gank come through here again.
Yeah, not much to this, honestly. Nice E here from Faker. Buys a little bit of space. The shock blast does connect, but then the flash out, and it's just greed. He goes back in, wants to see if he could get some XP or get some of those minions. Does give over the first blood, but again, look at the gold. It's T1 up gold. When it's 6 minutes you have a first blood, that is a massive difference they have actually overcome just through farm and through the play already on bot side. You can see, look at Gala's position. You know, he had to buy those 4 pots early on, had to use them all in that first kind of cycle of laning phase. And now on the other side, you've got some early lethality picked up. You've got tier 2 boots early on here from Carrier, which is one of the really nice advantages about actually playing these ranged supports here, is that it's so easy to farm gold compared to a relic shield. You get so much more gold as long as you have access to these autos and to actually hitting in on that. So great early buys for T1's bottom lane.
Certainly, and I think it's frustrating too because the gold lead is actually bigger than implied because you've already spent 200 gold on pots in the case of Gala. You've already lost so much gold just going for consumables. Guma has the refillable, not losing nearly as much, and this is going to be frustrating as they go further into the lane. Boots 2 going to make it safer, but meanwhile in the mid lane, Tarzan in the area, but again, the hawk shots coming through.
Yeah, also the ward there in the pixel brush actually spotting him, and it doesn't look like LNG are aware of that, so ward's going to remain there and continue giving information over. I do think that T1 specifically have already been on good track with this, but especially with these double AD carry comps, which if you haven't watched in spring, used to be all the rage, it's really important you start stacking the dragons early. I do think it's a type of comp where once you lose control, you're in trouble, but if you don't...
Assault, massive damage! The escape barely coming through there.
That was really close, and yeah, I agree. You have to really stay ahead because as much as you can kind of really deal a lot of punishment to these bottom lanes, all of a sudden Rakan hits 6 and the jungler shows up and you get flashed on and you're both dead. Well, there goes your lead, right? So you do have to pay respect to that, but look at Carrier. He was wrapping around, wanted to zone Gala off, so it's going to be at least one more plate going T1's way. It's going to be not only pushing Hong back and almost killing him, it's now a nearly 20 CS lead because of the CS being denied from Gala. His buys are going to be horrible, and there's going to be so much pressure now on the solo lanes.
Barely avoiding the tiny little kitty cats.
But Owner didn't know that they didn't know, so he has to back off because Zika's making his way over.
In the game of poker, they won. The bluff was successful, unintentionally so, but working nonetheless. As Owner's now going to back away. Yeah. The one strong point of the map right now is Zika on the top side, winning out in isolation. 83 CS to 69 now as Aatrox, you know, going to catch a couple here under the tower, but weren't able to leverage his strength in the previous game. Went wrong pretty quickly. Have to imagine that he's learned from those mistakes.
Sometimes the player's just too good for their own good, you know? If you just weren't looking at the mini-map, you could have just stayed on the blue buff and taken it. Wouldn't even know that Zika was missing.
Suffering from success, man.
Exactly.
And we do now see this Herald being started up. T1 100% want to go in on this. Carrier doesn't hit 6 just yet, though. Won't have the arrow available. A lot of poke coming down from Scout. This is a must-win for T1. Zeus isn't here yet.
Have to be careful about grouping up in the choke. Gala does have 6 and ultimate. Guma waiting over the wall. 1 second left on the chain of corruption. Has it now.
Health bar's already pretty low here for T1.
Look at Tarzan. He wants to get a really good angle for the Maokai ult. He's trying to set it up because Hong doesn't have 6, so he needs to be the one to start off that engage. They were hoping that T1 would overcommit in, use the Maokai ult to be able to set up that engage here from Hong. But it is going to be Gala basing, so LNG looking like they're going to bail out of this and just head him down towards bot, because if you look at the map, it's a big wave that's actually crashing, and even with Gala leaving, I think he's going to be too late, unfortunately, to get most of that. That wave's likely going to bounce, so T1's kind of going to win out on both sides, I think.
T1 doesn't know this yet, though, so they're not committing fully to the play, especially because with Tarzan and Zika still posturing this aggressively, T1 haven't really caught on. So we do now see the pings go down on the bot side turret as well. Gala, I think, was also sitting on white, so should be able to actually get a big counterpunch here if T1 doesn't respond in time. We do see the backs being channeled now.
Yeah, but they could even send down, Zeus to answer this if they really want, if they're concerned about plates going down. But he is going to TP back up towards top. Guma and Carrier are heading down towards bottom, so I don't think they're going to get much. Maybe 1 plate here for Gala. Scout gets 1 plate mid as well, so they're trying to get something back here. But it's going to be potentially about this counterpunch around bot lane. If you look at where the Rakan and the Maokai are, they are here waiting to catch the T1 bot lane as they do return.
And this is a situation where T1 stepping up can be highly risky. The TP, they've called the play out, they've sniffed it out. They see Tarzan. Gala shredding through 2 plates, but what else will T1 be able to get? Abscond forward, abduct the arrow, hitting. Gala going to be able to walk away from now. Maokai ult stopping the play in its tracks, but T1 holding on to 3 plates on the bottom side.
Health advantage is there, though, for LNG. And again, I think this is a must-get. This Dragon, 41 Tarzan.
Tarzan in trouble, stolen. Maokai ultimate leaping back, pushed away by the Dragon. Getting a little push back to safety here, but T1 now priority access to the second Drake of the game.
And even with Faker not hitting a skill shot, just the fact that Tarzan doesn't have his ultimate available means that LNG doesn't want to risk it. And it's going to be second Drake going over to T1 as well.
And with no cleanse on Gala, he had to use that down on bot side, the stolen Maokai ult, all of the CC available from Owner. I think Gala would have been a dead man if they tried to fight this one, so it's going to be pushed back. Scout trading with Faker obviously can't continue to chase down towards that bot side where you know all the T1 members are. And this side lane has just been mostly kind of left alone. Zika and Zeus been battling back and forth. It's basically dead even, a couple CS to separate the two. And we'll have to see, who's going to be able to get that side lane advantage. If Zika
step forward, the combo coming through, the abduction of the Kitty Cats once again forcing out the flash. The snare will connect, but there is no follow-up there. Instead, the Herald immediately going to get dropped. T1 now looking to grab 2 plates here. Flash in though, Owner's not happy with just 2 plates. Scout now going to be in trouble, but they can't quite find the damage. Faker going forward, looking for a bit of revenge. After the first tower dive, he will find the kill onto Scout as the Herald crashes.
It's a great dive from T1 Owner, no hesitation. Even with Tarzan, I think, handling that very well, trying to block out Faker, keep him from following up. Faker still had the flash, so he flashes in, finishes the kill, gets out, and they get the plates with the crash.
Chunk now stepping in, the flash away, the flash to safety, the slows big. Guma locked down, should get taken out here. Chains of Corruption going wide. He will not be able to get anything back. Crucial kill over to Gala.
And really big play there from Zika, able to find his way towards that bot side. And that's the one risk you always run with this double marksman lane, is overextending. It will be paying some plates inside, but I'm pretty sure Zika also should be able to get some here towards the bot lane.
And you can see how many summoners that actually cost T1. Guma went with the early cleanse, but Kyria used both his summoners as well in that retreat. So they're going to be vulnerable, but here's that earlier dive. Tarzan again does a good job peeling Faker off as best as he can. Blocks the abscond abduct, but then Faker just flashes in. He's got multiple of those passive autos stored up, and Owner was tanking the tower on the other side. Really well played from the T1 jungler, setting Faker up. And again, it's another good start here from Faker. Was incredible on the Orianna, and he's kind of been set up for success. There's multiple good ultis for him to steal. It's not just the Maokai ult. I do think stealing that Rakan ult is also really, really powerful. So he could have another good one here.
What I do think is important, though, is that when you look at the 5v5 LNG, they are somewhat behind. It's about 500-600 gold. But Cloud Drake isn't the type of Drake where I think if this was an Infernal like last game, you'd be looking at it very differently. But T1 does need to maintain control of this map, because once you lose it and you start to actually front to back against Aphelios, Maokai, Gwen, and Rakan, you're going to be in deep trouble.
Well, and so much of it is going to be about the early poke. You know, how much poke can Guma get down? You know, Gala is really behind the curve, so if he's actually getting poked down, getting chipped out, it's going to be difficult for him because he's so far away from being able to get towards something like a BT to be able to answer this. You know, your economy has been pushed way back. Of course, that kill he gets on the bot side does help him, but it'll be really heavily down to execution. And T1 have great engage as well. You know, not only with the stolen ults from Faker, but the carrier ultimates.
Ash Arrow narrowly dodged away from there. Calm, cool, collected, wrong. I'm going to clear out this wave, and I think it's an excellent call out that this is such a tricky position for LNG to find themselves in. Need to hold on to some semblance of control in this game. Good news is, after that game 1, much more controlled game 2, at least trading a little bit, trading blow for blow, matching in some circumstances, while T1 still grabbing more plates, still holding on to a gold lead. LNG at least not making the same mechanical missteps that they did in game 1.
What is really important, though, is for LNG to try and hold on to these turrets. As long as that outer ring of turrets remains standing, T1 can't really fully take control, especially once Carrier finishes his Umbral. If you start dropping turrets, and I think the second Herald actually going to be pretty hotly contested for this reason, it becomes a lot harder to actually keep control, and I do think the single target lockdown on T1 can be really tough to deal with.
Take a look at the match card lane economy snapshot. It's all over the place. But at least there's no one with a crazy massive gold lead like there was in the previous game.
This is a very, very even game number 2. And it's going to be such an exciting one. A lot of pressure, I feel like, on LNG. You know, after that first game, if you drop the second one in a close one, it becomes incredibly difficult because then you're faced with match point from T1. And T1, you know, wanting to execute, wanting to be able to keep the pressure on, going with such different bot lane strategies. We've seen it move more heavily towards these enchanter lanes, but Carrier back-to-back games playing double marksman bot lane down here, and thus far looking incredibly good.
T1 leveraging their priority into the mid lane, the control that someone like a lethality bar is going to give you by just piercing, arrowing every wave that comes forward to break mid-tier 1 tower. And I gotta say, I agree. It feels like T1 have identified Gala as a big threat, have drafted in a way that stops him from being relevant for so much of the early game, allowing a lot of their other players to really shine.
It's also something that we've seen in the tournament meta, right? And it's been one of the big reasons why we saw BLG, for example, be really successful, why Weibo was able to get such big leads consistently. It's this bot side counter picks as Zeus goes in on Tarzan.
Tarzan comes through with the twisted advance. Zeus getting lower and lower. We're going to try to burn through. Hack trigger isn't going to be enough. Flash out to safety. On the backside, Guma managing to land the ultimate. A little bit of follow-up damage. Zeus coming back in for the extra healing. Double TP now going in. Faker is there. Lockdown come in, and Zika's going to try to find one. Faker is towing away the ultimate. That's the needlework coming out. LNG being pushed back by the side of T1. Faker's stolen Maokai ultimate will connect, but no further fight breaks out.
But look at the health. Tarzan is incredibly low.
Carrier stepping a little bit too far here, but still has the flash. Holds on to it, won't even use it.
Gonna be the heal invested instead. T1 still gonna start this up. Zeus does have TP available. And it looks like Soul Point, 17, not even 70 minutes in, is gonna go to T1.
Yeah, the initial play looked like it was going LNG's way, but with the first TP coming through, Tarzan had to retreat. They couldn't chase in and try to finish off Zeus. And it did mean that despite the trades back and forth of these summoner spells, of these cooldowns, it was Tarzan incredibly low with no flash. You can't walk in as a 20% HP Maokai and try to contest this dragon. So T1, as you say, on Soul Point, and maybe it's not the exact one that they do want, but still, a soul is a soul, and flat move speed is always valuable.
And a downtown arrow might be enough to get Faker in here. Scout zooming out to safety just in time. Not quite enough duration on that one.
Thank you, Merc Treads.
Honestly, a crucial purchase against a team with this much upfront CC, with this much engage potential. Hung not quite going to connect onto Faker there. Second Herald stolen away. Chronicle, you talked about how important that one could be. T1 were able to break Tier 1 mid without its health, but maybe LNG can use it to fire back.
It's a really good counterpunch from LNG because it means that you can probably hold on to both of your outer turrets for a lot longer. And T1 also possibly could have leveraged the pressure that the Herald provides into then an advantage in the eventual soul fight in about 4 minutes' time. And we do see T1 continuously looking aggressive, but right now there's no real objective on the map, right? So they can either try and go and play aggressively towards these sides, send multiple people there and look for a dive opportunity, or try and find individual picks and set up for the dragon when it does come up.
And I mean, you could see how much of an emphasis there was towards the dragon. You know, just look towards the bot side, all of vision there. Now they're getting vision in around that top side as well. Is T1 constantly pushing forward, utilizing Hawkshot, utilizing volley to check brushes, moving around with Owner, establishing forward vision control here to try to kind of move up that line. and even open up opportunities like this where Faker's pushing in top, Owner and Carrier are going to cover him, and it's likely going to be a tier 1 tower unless LNG are really willing to fight for it.
For LNG, though, I do think looking at the gold and the item breakpoints that have been hit, they can also just decide to give up control of the area for now. As long as you don't give over the dragon, I do think that you're going to reach the 2 item breakpoints. We're seeing that Gala's getting close, same for Zika. And from that point on, one fight can be enough, and I do still think that that is where LNG, if they can actually get that front to back, could look for a turnaround.
I think they can, but I'm really concerned for their ability to. If T1 is first one to that objective, I think we're going to see T1 committing cooldowns really aggressively just to get chunks down on LNG. We're going to see Stolen Maokai ultimate come out right away. We're going to see the ultimates coming out from Carrier and Guma. Everyone just committing these resources early in a fight to try to chunk LNG down to a point where they can't get that 100-0 fight, because that is what they're looking for. They're looking for that fight to start, and they just overwhelm their opponents with the engage. But if T1 has you down to half health, to 30% health before it even starts, you can't really engage, you can't look for it.
And T1 with Lethality Varus are just always going to have mid-prio first. It's so hard to get your vision down. You will always be responding to the pressure that T1 puts on the map. It's a difficult situation, and I feel, especially for LNG support, Hung, this guy has to be the big playmaker. The Rakan is the one piece of reliable, proactive engage your team has, and the tool that you can use to shatter kind of the glass cannon that T1 are bringing to the table. But this is a guy who struggled last game on Blitzcrank. This is a lot to ask from a player when you're already at a single game deficit, and he had such a rough game 1.
It's also the reason why the Silas was actually getting banned a lot. We saw BLG do it very consistently. Because I do think that Maokai loses so much of his power when the opponent can just answer, right? I think Maokai Ultimate is one... It literally is. But not only is it a better version of your ult, it also takes away so much of what I think makes the champion so oppressive, allows you to set up shop, and your opponents, particularly with champions like the Jays, try to walk up, they just get blown up before they can even get to the objective.
And I like the timing of this attempt here from Carrier. So he shoots out the ultimate, and it's at a time where if you force the cleanse will not be back for this dragon fight. But maybe going to commit to this. I don't think so. So they do get that flash, but you know, your ultimate will be back up as Carrier. And unfortunately for him now, he's going to be missing those summoners. So he's going to be very vulnerable to Hong in this next fight. But of course, the primary target is going to be Guma. They really have to get towards him and try to take him out. You can see second items coming through for a lot of people. Scout almost has that tier fully stacked up. Zika's done his second item. It's been a very slow-paced game in the second game.
What we are seeing here, though, is that LNG, again, identified that T1 doesn't need to go for this dragon. This is just an individual Drake for them. Obviously, if they get it, they get Soul, but LNG try to set up as much vision as they can to sniff out a Baron in case T1 do not opt into a contest at all. And particularly with the vision that they've been able to set up, if you take a look, one ward on the top half of the map, and then these wards here, they should have a pretty good idea of where T1 is going to go, as it is about 20 seconds until that possible Soul spawns.
Umbral Glaive spotting adds a bit of vision, but they'll still get the information that they need. His second Herald is utilized mid lane. It should get the charge. Is it going to get the charge? Not quite. The Matador in the eyes of the bull. On that one, Faker off to the side, Hung now caught out. Arrow is going to connect, but not onto a priority target. LNG, will they look for the re-engage? No, just opting to back out. Know that this is not their window to fight.
But again, this is what I expected from T1. Push in, utilize those ultimates early, try to use that to take positioning, to try to get those chunks. LNG, though, have a pretty good position here themselves with Zika on the side. Tarzan will try to retake some of this vision, and LNG are going to try to get the Scuttle and see if they can find the better angle for the engage.
Scuttle down, Gala great guns for a fight. In terms of sustained DPS, he absolutely outclasses Guma. But if it just comes down to a poke battle, he will not come out on top. LNG forcing the issue.
Hong doesn't have a good angle to engage at all, though. Like, look where he's playing. He's almost like trying to mark Zeus, but he needs to get the backline. They're going to go.
Flash in. Owner Gala manages to make it out safety. Isolated for now. Looking for Zeus over the wall. Zeus on the backline. But Gala forced to safety. Chakram stacked. Zeus can't find the angle, but the shutdown coming through for Baker. T1 taking the fight anyway. Gala looked good, but Gala did not matter. T1 finding the exchange.
And even with Gala surviving, the other front is won by T1. They're able to break up that core unit for LNG. There's not enough damage available, and that's going to be Soul for T1.
Zeus got so much done there for T1. The 0-0-0 Aatrox making all the difference as he comes over the side there, gets right into both the carries from LNG. Scout and Gala sent packing. They had to run from him. And I'm kind of surprised because they were aware that Zeus was playing in this angle, but then they just lost track of him as Owner comes in, and look at the angle from Zeus right over the wall, catches both Scout and Gala, pushing them back, and meaning that on the other side, it's Zika losing out, it's Hong losing out, as Keria, Guma, and Faker will easily win that 3v2.
And the threat of this full lethality Aatrox, together with Owner, ends up turning it into a 2v4, which they win, even though Owner ends up going down. And then, as you said, on the flip side, Zika gets taken down. Hung tries to help him, isn't actually able to get enough done, as the arrow...
Going wide, T1 now setting up for the Baron. You can understand why they are so far ahead. The Cloud Soul, their ultimates, always available.
They could always start this just to force the TP from Zika, who is pushing heavily down on that bot side, but T1 want to play it out a little bit more slowly, not going to risk it, so they're just going to have Zeus go down towards bot, look to answer, and continue playing with Prio through mid. Guma shoves mid, Keria invades with Owner, it's rinse and repeat all game long, Faker gets pushed top, then moves down with the team. T1 are just playing this out so well through multiple lanes and really limiting the options and opportunities for LNG by constantly tracking them.
Tarzan did get blue.
That's a dub.
So that's a win.
You take what you can get.
Step one on the journey to winning the game
it's not a lot for LNG.
is the blue. It's been brutal. I was ready for this to be much closer, but to be honest, T1, the way that they've been counterpicking bot lane, not overplaying their hand, playing patient in a lot of these fights has been fantastic. And you saw in that last fight, Gala has 2 items, perfect guns, and he was not super relevant. Solo isolated by this consistent blind pick Aatrox top lane. This champion is becoming a problem for LNG.
And it's also with a different build than what we've seen the Aatrox be the strongest with, which I think is really funny. It's similar to what we've seen with Kai'Sa as Zika tries to contest Vision.
Zika leveraging the Shroud to try to contest here. Gala with the Infernum ultimate, it can always be a threat, but again, T1 just taking their time.
And I think this build from Zeus kind of represents him as a player. It's risk versus reward, right? This is something that he is just so confident in his ability to execute on a build like this. Almost everyone plays Gore Drinker because it's more stable, it's more secure. You go Gore Drinker, you go Sterix, you get in the middle of the fight, and at the very least, you're going to take up a lot of damage. This one is the 1v9 or the all your team reports you. It's like you are squishy and you've got to execute perfectly, and so far he's been able to.
And it's T1 that has control of the river and that allows Zeus to just continuously push because LNG can't actually threaten the Baron here, so they can't really force out a response from the Aatrox there, and now T1 might start it up themselves.
And this is a chokehold on the game that T1 have established for themselves. The only saving grace for LNG right now is they have the Maokai. They have the luxury of the Saplings to face check some of this vision for them, but the real winner here is not T1's control around the Baron, it's Zeus. This man just eating CS, eating creeps everywhere on the map, becoming gigantic, while T1 just stall LNG out because they know they have to be in the area.
And it feels like T1, based on their play, based on their fact that they haven't been starting up this Baron, they just want to play for Elder, I think. At this point, you're delaying this long after you took the Soul already, after you already have that advantage. They just want to play around that lower damage objective that's not going to be as risky to start up. The Baron obviously has a lot of inherent risk against a team like this that has that hard engage. So they want to continue controlling vision, limiting the options, and taking only the fights when it really does favor them. T1 are playing almost the style that I expected from LNG coming into this series.
It's slow, it's deliberate, it's controlled. And again, you know, in game one, a little bit more explosive when they had the Neela on the composition. But Guma and Keria, the fact that there's only 1 death between them on such vulnerable champions is fantastic sign of T1's success.
And I think it's really interesting because, you know, when you look just at the scoreboard, it doesn't seem as bad. But this game has felt incredibly one-sided because it's been T1 dictating where all the action is. It's been T1 pushing in the waves, controlling the vision. And it always feels like the ball is in their court, so to speak, which I think is really what's making it feel like it's so one-sided.
Oh. Arrow coming in, will just miss through the goalpost. Stolen Maokai ultimate now used. Potentially a window of opportunity here for the side of T1. Flash in onto Owner. Owner still making it out to safety. A lot of resources committed. Gwen still on the bottom side of the map. Zika does have TP up and available. Tarzan getting chunked. And LNG not really able to get anything, just a trade of Maokai ultimates.
And that's a really big win here for T1. Not having the Maokai ult available makes contesting the Baron way harder.
And Tarzan committed his flash. You can smell the desperation a little bit there. It was a great buffer from Owner. As soon as that flash came in, he's mashing W, gets that dismount to create some extra space so no one can follow up there from Tarzan. And now if it does come down to an objective flip, Tarzan not only doesn't have the ulti, but he's chunked and he has no flash. So there's almost no way for him to approach and try to steal.
Saving grace here is that they do have the Scuttle, so T1 can't start up the Baron without knowledge of LNG. Do know the Faker is about to hit his death gap is about 500 gold away, and that is going to be such an immense power spike, which I don't think they'll be able to get it before the Elder. But if they can stall that a little bit and play with that, I think it becomes really hard for LNG to win the fight.
I don't think that Crab is going to save a lot of grace for much longer, Chronicler. You're right, there's Death Cap coming. There's Elder in 30 seconds that T1 can now set up for, because again, they have permanent mid-priority with this lethality Varus. LNG are going to do what they can just to set up defensive vision, just to make sure that their jungle is safe, already burning 2 wards, just to be able to walk in. They're going to fight for bot lane control, to have an angle to walk into the river, but T1 already total control around the objective.
I just love the observers highlighting this. They can't see anything. They don't know where anyone is. So LNG have to fight through bot, try to push in as a squad, and hope that they can win this fight. Because if you can win this fight, that is the one risk with this strategy that T1 are going for, where they're playing so conservative, where they don't set up the Baron. Because if you lose this flip, if somehow LNG get that Elder, the game can get turned around.
Definitely. LNG pushing in, fighting with the bot prio that they built for themselves. Need to be careful here. Owner is not quite going to burn the engage quite yet. Just baiting, buying time. Zika already using the hourglass. Now trying to back away. That's the missed cooldown consumed as well. Is this the window of opportunity where T1 want to start it? No, they're just trying to play for more cooldowns. Just build up these small incremental advantages.
Also, Zeus is looking for a back. Not going to get it, though, and we do see the poke from Scout not landing right now, but Gala does have both his summoners available and is very healthy, sitting on 3 items, did finish his Lord Doms just now.
Exactly, finished that LDR, so he's really strong. Last Whisper in for Scout as well. And LNG are trying to force this response through bot, trying to keep Zeus around and keep this opportunity for a multi-prong attack, but it's T1 who looks like they want to preempt the play.
Owner now stepping in, getting forced backwards. LNG not quite able to secure the blue buff there. Owner using one of the smite charges to get it. Gala trying to force the issue, force the fight here. T1 has to be careful about grouping for the Infernum ultimate.
Owner a little bit chunked here, and Hong's looking for that angle. They're going to try to pinch Zeus.
Dragon resetting a little bit here. Both sides backing away. It's just a battle of poke. Both sides hoping to bait the other one into pressing the trigger. The charm now coming through. Will it be enough to lock down Zeus? No is the answer. Scout given to the Aatrox as tribute, and now Gala's in trouble. T1 coming alive. They see the window of opportunity. They see the weakness in the armor of LNG, and they tear it asunder. There is no room left in the fight. T1 will take everything they want in this game too. Hung, a last desperate effort, but the TP's coming mid. I mean, that's going to be game.
They're going to throw for the end. T1 put LNG in a lose-lose position. You have to contest for this objective. Elder, just too much power to give over. But T1 patiently prodding, find the angle.
And the fervor of the fans in Busan will not force T1 to play over-aggressive. They keep their discipline, they remain composed, they close out cleanly versus LNG in Game 2 and bring us to match point, a semifinal spot on the line.
What a performance from T1 thus far. Dominance in Game 1. And for Game 2, the word that comes to mind is control. Absolute control, start to finish. It never seemed like LNG were the ones driving this game. T1 looking so prepared, so practiced coming into this series, and really blowing my expectations out of the water. I thought it was going to be much closer than it has looked thus far, but LNG especially have had no answers for the T1 bot lane.
What's remarkable is that T1 is playing the controlled style that LNG had so much success with, but due to these bot lane counter picks, LNG doesn't get to play the game.
T1 consistently coming out ahead, and as a result, they're moving on to match point after the break. But before we go, let's check out behind-the-scenes footage of our amazing daily teases through the eyes of the Oppo Cam.